Well, them is his titles. It's all respect. Like I told everybody for a long time. I'm like, man, me and Canelo. I got a ton of respect for Canelo. I'm a fan of Canelo. I always been a fan of Canelo, and I wanted to be the one to give him back his belts. I didn't want my team to hand him back his belts. I wanted to be the one that give him back his belts.
Yeah. The only thing I told him was that you could not give Canelo the center of the ring. And earlier you gave it to him, but then you started outboxing him and outsmarting him with it, and he started taking it back at the right time. So he studied his film very well. He knew when to fight, when to move left, and when to move right. Very smart fight. He completely frustrated Canelo.
The only thing I wonder is if Crawford was born and made in a laboratory, in a test tube, because that was science. That was pure science. No two ways about it.
The boxing world has just witnessed a moment that will be studied, debated, and replayed for years to come. Terence Crawford pulled off what many considered unthinkable. He defeated Canelo in a fight that rewrote expectations and left the sport reeling. Inside the arena, the shock was almost physical. Fans gasped, analysts scrambled for words, and even seasoned commentators struggled to capture the magnitude of what had just unfolded. This wasn't simply an upset, it felt like the sport had turned a page, ushering in a fresh chapter of boxing history. In the middle of that whirlwind, one voice stood steady. Crawford's father stepped forward, not with theatrics, but with a calm certainty that cut through the noise. His words were simple: "I knew my son was that good." No exaggeration, no need for dramatic flair, just the quiet truth of a man who had seen this destiny long before the rest of the world believed it possible. His statement carried the weight of years, endless mornings in the gym, nights of sacrifice, and the kind of belief only a father can hold. That moment wasn't just pride on display. It was a reminder that greatness doesn't arrive overnight, it is shaped over time through discipline, resilience, and relentless work. And as the crowd began to catch its breath, another voice of authority entered the conversation. Roy Jones Jr., a legend who knows the taste of triumph and the cost of chasing it, shared his perspective. His words didn't just break down what happened, they carried the authority of someone who has lived every high and low the sport can offer, making his take all the more powerful.
Hard to beat that, brother. He's going to be up there somewhere close to the top 5, I promise you.
When Roy Jones Jr. spoke, the entire room listened. His words didn't come as casual commentary, they carried the gravity of a verdict from one of boxing's sharpest and most respected minds. He wasn't there to exaggerate or fan the flames of hype. Instead, his statement stamped the moment with authenticity. It was more than praise, it was validation. Crawford's victory wasn't just an upset in the record books, it was a redefining performance that shifted the very standards by which greatness is measured. With Jones's approval, Crawford's achievement took on a different weight. This wasn't another checkmark in his career. It was a career-defining benchmark, a victory that places him in direct comparison with the all-time greats who came before him. Overnight, the narrative shifted. The question was no longer, did Crawford beat Canelo, but where does Crawford now stand among the legends of the sport? And then, another perspective arrived, one with its own authority. Gareth A. Davies, a veteran analyst whose reputation rests on precision and clarity, offered his breakdown. Known for cutting through noise with sharp insight, Davies's reaction mixed professional awe with historical perspective. His words didn't just echo the shock in the arena, they crystallized it. In his view, the fight wasn't merely an incredible win, it was a seismic moment in boxing history, one that future generations will look back on as a turning point.
Absolutely, I picked Canelo because I thought he was so much bigger, almost three weight divisions above him. But the majesty and poise of Terence Crawford's brilliance tonight was to the fore. I had it 9 rounds to 3, I can just about see 8 rounds to 4, the 16-12 score. I cannot see 7 rounds to 5 from 2 of the judges. Terence Crawford tonight, at speed of thought, speed of hands, speed of feet, took it to Canelo when he had to. Canelo had no answers to him. For me, Terence Crawford moves up to the number 1 pound for pound spot in the sport right now, above Naoya Inoue, above Alexander Usyk. He is incredible to become historically a 3-weight undisputed world champion. It just beggars belief what he's managed to do. He was immense tonight. He took it with humility. There was a little bit of emotion afterwards, but from first to last, I have to say it, Canelo did not have the answers for him. So let's take nothing away from Crawford, it was all of his doing.
Oh, absolutely.
He was the one that made Canelo look older, slower.
What unfolded after the final bell read more like a courtroom ruling than a burst of applause. Observers weren't cheering so much as recording a verdict, each observation added to the body of evidence that Crawford had dominated. Analysts picked apart exchanges with the care of clerks annotating a transcript, and every note pointed to the same conclusion: control, clarity, and execution at the highest level. The details mattered. Time and again he set the tempo, forced the angles he wanted, and turned brief moments into decisive advantages. Though small, repeated gains stacked into a performance that could not be dismissed as fluke or fortune. When seen in sequence, the bout resolved itself into a coherent plan carried out with near-clinical efficiency. Hearing that assessment from seasoned voices converted opinion into record. This was not mere flattery or reactive hype, it was a measured finding born of experience and close observation. For Crawford, the practical effect was immediate. The win ceased to be a single night's achievement and instead read like a new standard for the division. Adam Catterall then added a methodical layer, working through the fight like an auditor reviewing ledgers. His breakdown removed drama and left mechanics, timing, footwork, countersets, and ring positioning, all laid bare. Piece by piece he showed how techniques and tactics combine to neutralize a champion's strengths. The result is a usable playbook, not just a highlight reel. Coaches, opponents, and pundits will study the tape for lessons and countermeasures. In short, this performance has been entered into boxing's case law, a reference point for how to win, how to adapt, and how the hierarchy of the division may now be measured.
He schooled him. He schooled him from start to finish. Listen, it was cagey at the start, don't get me wrong. There was a little bit of nip and tuck, there was a little bit of downloading the data, seeing what the situation is. Interesting that for the full 12 rounds, he only boxed in southpaw. No switch hitting tonight, stayed in southpaw. A little bit of downloading of the data, and then just gradually went through the gears up to round 4, and that's when he started to put his foot down. Everything Canelo did tonight, Bud Crawford had an answer for it.
Every angle of review kept circling back to one undeniable fact: Crawford didn't merely win rounds, he controlled the entire fight from start to finish. The rhythm, the pace, the terms of engagement, every element bent to his command. It wasn't survival for the champion, it was submission to Crawford's design, a contest dictated on his terms alone. Adam Catterall's breakdown drove that home with clarity. He emphasized how complete the display was, airtight, polished, and absent of any cracks for doubt to slip through. This wasn't a case of edging by or relying on a single decisive moment. It was a masterclass, a performance so absolute that it turned a celebrated champion into a case study, and elevated Crawford from great fighter to something closer to legend. Yet Catterall didn't freeze his analysis at the technical level. He went deeper, capturing the raw pulse of the night. His tone carried urgency, the sound of a seasoned observer who realized he was watching history as it was being written. That blend of forensic detail and visceral reaction amplified the moment beyond the scorecards. It left no room for understatement. This was dominance of the rarest kind, the kind that echoes long after the lights go out.
Only that, if you go back and watch the previews that we did throughout the course of the week, we said that this is a game of IQ. There's going to be movement within the fight. You're going to have to answer different types of questions and bring different types of game plan. Crawford did that. He was able to do it backwards, he was able to do it forwards, he could trade in the pocket, catch the stuff, and then counter. He was absolutely magnificent. Listen, I know this is raw and we've only just walked out the stadium, right?
10 minutes ago.
And when the dust settles on this, we'll probably have better answers and better thought processes. And I'm sure people watching this will get stuck into the comments and maybe say what I'm about to say is quite outlandish. That might be the single best performance that I have ever witnessed live. It was absolutely tremendous. You've got to take into consideration the weight jump. This is a man that was champion at 135, 140, 147, and obviously recently at 154. But let's be honest, he even jumped up to 154 pounds for that. To go then up to 168 and take on the former pound for pound #1 king on a Mexican holiday weekend in Las Vegas.
This wasn't filler commentary or empty airtime, it was authentic recognition of a performance that shifted the boundaries of the sport itself. What Terence Crawford delivered wasn't framed as chance or fortune, it was the deliberate craft of a fighter operating at the very peak of his abilities. Analysts pointed to his adaptability, the way he adjusted in real time, nullifying threats before they could even develop. Each counter was measured, each adjustment intentional, and every exchange carried the stamp of control. What emerged wasn't chaos, it was choreography. Crawford didn't just react to his opponent, he sculpted the flow of the fight, turning the ring into a canvas and his skill set into brushstrokes. The result was described not as a lucky break, but as pure artistry in motion, a live demonstration of what boxing looks like when one fighter is in complete command of the craft.
Jump. This is a man that was champion at 135, 140, 147, and obviously recently at 154, but let's be honest, he even jumped up to 154 pounds for that. To go then up to 168 and take on the Forbes pound for pound #1 king on a Mexican holiday weekend in Las Vegas and managed to beat him on the cards when the judges tried to do him, mate, it is out of this world what Terence Crawford just did, and he needs all the flowers in the world, he needs all the praise in the world, and I don't think you're wrong, mate, by saying he's the pound for pound #1. It's an ever-moving list. That performance alone deserves to put him right at the top of the chart.
Terence "Bud" Crawford makes history. I mean, that's the only way I can really start out this video. A lot to unpack on an amazing performance by Terence Crawford. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but really it was about Bud Crawford. It was about what he accomplished tonight, and it was about, you know, becoming the first undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era in 3 different weight classes. Really, and the way he did it, and you know, the class that he showed all throughout the preparation, and just flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a